SwoleBenji here. Today I have the best build to solo corrupted portals. With this build, you can technically solo the level 66 portals, not the group ones, but you can solo the solo oriented ones. And this is the best possible, easiest, most brain dead, fastest way to do it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the stats here. Alright, so you're going to have 185 of your stat points allocated into strength. Then you're going to have both weapons at gear score 600 with plus 30 into strength. You get 5 by default, and then 2 of your armor or jewelry pieces will have plus 25 strength. Okay? Then on Constitution, you have 5 by default. Use your 5 remaining stat points. You get 40 from the food buff, and if you don't want to spend a lot of coin on the plus 40 tier 5 food buff, you can use the holiday food, which is plus 33, but it's going to put you under 200. Now, the reason we don't do this for strength is because you absolutely need 300 strength to have the grit activated during all attacks, and that is pretty much what makes the build, and I'm going to show you why this build basically makes you invincible in corrupted portals. And then the rest of your armor and jewelry pieces will be Constitution based. Alright, so let's go to the next one now. This will be your spec for Great Axe. Now, I know it's not something that you're used to seeing, okay? Because you have Reap here, and you don't have any of the stuff that makes Reap cool. The only reason we pick Reap is so that you have 3 abilities, but because these 2 passives are based around light attacks, and we will not be doing any light attacks with this build whatsoever. Everything else on this side of the tree, because this side of the tree got heavily nerfed, so we don't use Bloodlust anymore, alright? This side of the tree, this is armor penetration, this is lifesteal on crit. This gives you damage when the enemy blocks your attack. This is more crit damage. This is more crit when the enemy is below 30% life. And this is lifesteal when the enemy is below 30% life. Very good. Now, we have Maelstrom here. And the reason we don't pick this one is because you don't need to do 2 attacks. It will not stack the passive where you weaken the enemy. You just need to do 1 spin. It's going to weaken all the enemies, and you'll immediately be able to chain heavy attacks. The reason we don't pick this perk is it is still broken. This, it changes your charged heavy attack into a regular heavy attack, and it's bugged. They fixed the damage in the last patch, but they didn't fix it with the passive, which you will need on your weapon, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, because it still considers it a non-charged heavy. It's really stupid. Alright, so this gives you 20% damage reduction and grit, but we have grit from strength anyway. When you do a heavy attack, this one is, I forget. Oh yeah, it roots them anytime you do a pull. So this turns your Maelstrom and your Reap into a root. This one gives you more defense, I believe. Whenever you block, you gain more power. This one gives you more defense when there's 3 enemies around you. This one gives you more power when 3 enemies around you, and this one gives you a stacking damage increase when you attack. And then, of course, we have Gravwell and all the passives there. All right, now let's talk about the items here. I'm going to go ahead and hide my watermark real quick. All right, so you're going to be using the Great Axe, and this is the big perk you need, is Trenchant Recovery, okay? This gives you 28% lifesteal on a charged heavy attack, okay? Great Axe has the best charged heavy in the game, and 28% is huge. That is like having 5 life leech rings or 5 leeching weapon mods all on one attack, and right now, Drop of Wolf Essence, it's hard to find. I don't see any on the markets on the big servers. I have 1 in my inventory out of playing for 1,000 hours of this game. Now, I highly recommend your second perk be Keen. Now, I didn't put a third perk here because what I'm trying to tell you is you don't need 3 perks, but if you wanted a third one, it could be Leeching, it could be like Keenly Empowered, Keenly Fortified, anything like that. Now, you're going to put a Jasper into this weapon, and Retaliate, it says it deals 15% additional damage every time you get hit 3 times, right? And it works for 3 hits, but this is always going to be up because you're doing heavy attacks and you're just tanking the hits. But also, it's actually more than 15%. It's calculated wrong. I don't know if they'll ever fix it. But this does way more damage than any other gem currently, and because you're going to be taking hits, this will always be activated all the time. Alright, so now for armor, you're going to want heavy Orichalcum heavy armors. So this is a heavy breastplate, not a regular one, but a heavy one. And what that does is it will give you more physical damage reduction, but less elemental damage reduction. And the reason you want this is because it scales better with your Constitution passive, which scales additional HP based on physical armor, and then later you get a 20% armor boost. Now, you must have 5 corrupted wards on all of your pieces of armor, because this reduces damage against corrupted mobs. This is something you absolutely want. Now, as far as your weapon, you can't have the corrupted damage mob and keen. They both take up the same slot, I believe. No, it's one of them, but you can't have both, so don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. I could be wrong, though. Now, also on your armor, you don't really need any other perks. You want 1 Enfeeling Maelstrom. These don't stack, and the Insatiable Gravity Well. These don't stack either. That's pretty much it for armor mods. Like, Refreshing is cool to have. Any other kind of thing. Because you have Corrupted Ward, you can't have that Physical or Elemental Ward, unfortunately, because that does take up the slot. And in all of your armor and jewelry, you want Onyxes for that physical damage reduction. Now, the reason we want physical damage reduction is there's only a few spells that you get hit by when doing Corrupted Portals. There's the Exploding Mines, the Void Lasers on the ground. There is, I think the little, like, Corrupted Blood Balls that the mobs shoot. That's really about it. For amulets, you just want health. Anything else is fine. You can have refreshing. I'm not going for best in slot stuff here. This is just kind of a farming build. It's not going to cost you a lot. The only thing that might cost you a lot is the weapon and the ring. That's about it. Your earring, you need regeneration. That is 360 health per second, about, on average, which is pretty darn good. That's like in 10 seconds, you're basically chugged a health potion. Now, ring, you want keen awareness. Leeching is optional. It just helps out more. You don't need it with this build, but it does help that extra little bit. Now, consumables, you want your tier 5 healing potions, regeneration potions, which do not share a cooldown. So if you chug a healing potion, which you don't have to unless you are heavily overwhelmed, you can chug a regeneration potion. You want corruption resist potions because you're going to be taking a lot of corruption damage, and without at least chugging one of these it's like 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to take lots of damage. There's just no reason for it. These things are cheap as heck anyway. Now, you want a tier 5 honing stone, because that's going to increase your damage by 7%. You could use tier 4 if you want to be cheap. And tier 5 corruption coating. Again, you could use tier 4 if you want to be cheap. That's 15% damage increase. You want the tier 5 con food to reach 200 constitution. If you don't care about getting 20% additional armor, then just use the holiday food, because it's basically free. And then tier 5 incense is going to keep you from taking corruption damage for quite a while, but it will also keep you from burning less. It's 50% reduction in all that stuff. It's amazing. And it's incredibly cheap and easy to make. Alright, now, if you have houses, use corrupted combat trophies. If you have 3 majors, it's 15% damage. If you have 3 minors, it's 9%. And then if you have the regular one, it's 12%. Pretty good stuff, okay? Alright, so here is the math behind the build, okay? While you're heavy swinging, you're uninterruptible. You get 20% damage reduction during the swing. You cleave an area, hitting 5,000 to 8,000 damage per swing. Okay, you can chain heavy attacks forever and never be interrupted if you time it perfectly. You can actually just macro that if you're into macroing. I'm not going to hide that fact anymore on this channel. Like, Amazon doesn't give a shit. They don't ban bots, they don't ban cheaters. So if you want to macro your heavies and just hit a macro and just heavy swing and then turn it off when everything's dead, you could do that. Alright? And Redditors might get mad at me for saying that, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm being honest. I'm being brutally real with you. Okay? No more kissing the toes of these developers anymore. If they want to feature me and stuff, great. If not, well, whatever. It's their loss. Alright, so every time you attack, you heal 43 to 58% of your life. It really depends if they're below 30% life. It depends if you have life stealing on your ring and on your weapon, which I didn't list, but you can get, that's another 10% you can get, obviously, right? And then you crit 25 to 40% of the time. 40% is when they are below 30% life. Now, your defenses are quite good, too. You have over 12,000 HP. I think it's actually more like 14,000 if you're in full gear score 600. You heal for 2,500 to 4,000 per swing, every single hit, and because you're so defensive, no mob really in the game is going to hit you this hard. Even mobs in Lazarus don't hit this hard, okay? So during heavy swing, you get 20% damage reduction, you get a 10% fortify if you stand in the gravity well effect, which is not very long, let's be honest. You get 10% damage reduction if there's 3 enemies nearby, you get another 20% physical damage reduction from your gems, 24% damage reduction versus corrupted mobs because of the corrupted mod on your armor. You have over 2,000 armor, and your score 600, you have even more. I think it's like 2,003, 2,400 or something. It's crazy. The enemies will deal 14% less damage to you after Maelstrom. You heal 360 HP a second, and if you cast Shockwave, that's 10% less damage as well. And I think there's something else that also reduces the damage you take, which I forgot to calculate here. I don't remember right now. I'm sure someone can correct me in the comments. Now here's your offensives, right? You got the Honing Stone, Corruption Coating, and then this is just having 100 Strength for your heavies. If they're Rooted, Jasper, Gem, Armor Penetration, all that fun stuff, it adds up to 321.6% damage increased. This is factoring in your base crit multiplier of 130%, and if you do a critical attack, okay? So you can minus off the crit damage multi for non-crits. It's like 200 or 190, 89 something. And I didn't add the Trenchant Rend when using a hammer, which, speaking of hammers, your offhand weapon will be a hammer, and here's how it works. You're going to cast Armor Breaker, and what that's going to do is rend them, meaning that they take 20% additional damage for 10 seconds. This speeds up killing things, because a lot of mobs, you're soloing, and it's gonna, like the big beefy mobs, you want to kill them as fast as possible, and dealing 20% more damage on your heavy attacks is amazing, okay? And then Shockwave, of course, it's a crowd control. It also has a 9.6% rend, which stacks with trauma here, and then you have Frailty, which weakens them, meaning they hit you for less damage. I think that's the one I didn't factor into defenses. That's 10% less more damage, right? And then Trenchant Rend, which is if you heavy attack with your hammer, that's going to again rend them for 14%. It's a lot. So here's your rotation, okay? So you're going to Wrecking Ball into Shockwave into heavy attack with the hammer. Then you're going to Armor Breaker immediately after hitting them. After landing that heavy, you can animation cancel into the Armor Breaker. Okay, then you swap to your axe and you heavy attack spam. That's just against regular enemies. Now, if the enemy is a very dangerous enemy, you have to play a little more defensively. So you're going to Shockwave, swap to your axe. The reason you don't cast Wrecking Ball when fighting a dangerous enemy is because when you switch off of your hammer, you lose the Fortify that Wrecking Ball gives you. So you're just going to Shockwave and then swap to Axe. You're going to hit him with Gravwell. That's for the Fortify. And the Lifesteal AoE Explosion. Then you're going to Maelstrom for the Weaken. And then you're going to start spamming heavy attacks. And you basically just Shockwave the enemy to make sure that they're weakened. You Maelstrom them to make sure that they're weakened. And you cast Gravity Well whenever it comes up so that you're fortified. And you're doing heavy attacks because daring your heavy attack, remember, daring heavy attacks on the Great Axe, you have 20% damage reduction, so you want to tank those hits from the dangerous monster while you are heavy attacking, and because you are heavy attacking, you have grit because you have 300 strength, which will mean that a brute will not be able to bowling ball you into the ground and then slam you for all of your HP, which they can't take all of your HP, they're a corrupted mob. If anything, this is the build to run in an outpost rush if you want to be a brute buster, okay? Because if enemies are attacking, you're just going to be fully healed from the brute, and no one's going to be able to interrupt you. You basically can just smash the brute down very quickly by dealing over 8,000 damage a swing. Now, of course, you don't have to use Honing Stones and Corruption Coatings and all that stuff, but that will just make things a little bit faster, a little bit easier for you. So that's the build, guys. I know some people in the comments are going to say, well, why don't you show gameplay footage? And there's a few things right now. I can't access the server at the moment, okay? I put in a ticket to have a weapon of mine fixed, and that weapon is the legendary rapier. It's I forget what it's called at the moment, but it's supposed to have 3 perks, but when you craft it, you only get 2. And for whatever reason, the game master that saw my ticket gave me a 2-day ban over it. Like I'm not supposed to ask them to fix crafts that right. It's one of those legendary crafts, right? It's supposed to have 3 mods on it, but it only comes out as epic. And I asked them to fix it, and then they gave me a 2-day ban for it. What the hell? Also, I don't have the Trenchant axe yet, and I don't have the 600 gear score version of the armors. If you want the budget version of the armor, you can, let's go here. It's not quite the heavy variant, but you can buy the heavy armor pieces from the holiday vendor, which will have Corrupted Ward on it. It also has Corrupted Resistance. The reason I didn't put Corrupted Resistance here is because it only saves you like 2.5 seconds of corruption damage, because it doesn't make you take less corruption damage. The resistance only increases the timer it takes until corruption hits you. That's it. That's all it does. But because you use incense and you have the corruption resist potion, that nullifies it completely, so it's a useless perk. That's why I didn't list it here. Alright guys, that's the build. Again, this build is called the best build to solo corrupted portals with. I'm SwoleBenji. Thanks for watching. As always, be a bro and stay swole. I try to make videos every day, but I know I did miss a day. I do apologize for that, but just been busy trying to make vids for other games as well, and moving on because this game it's just in the shitter, guys. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Hopefully, video tomorrow. Take care. Make sure you thumbs this up, okay? There are lots of angry redditors. There was a redditor that made a thread about me, and it got deleted by the Janny. Haha. That's what you get for trying to witch hunt me. Anyway, guys, make sure you upvote the video to make the redditors go away. That was the purpose of the last 3 like trolling videos. Everyone's like, "Are you okay, SwoleBenji? Are you doing all right?" Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm trying to get rid of the redditor viewers. Okay, we don't want them here. Take care.